Kiana and I we both have had like a very big musical upbringing. Her dad and her Persian culture has inspired a lot of her musical upbringing. And for me, being Brazilian, my mom was a dancer, moved to America in hopes for a better life and all of that. So I had music playing.
Taking care of ourselves physically and making sure our health is for priority is super important. I think that I sometimes go to therapy if I'm having a really rough week, and I make sure I'm very comfortable in knowing when I need the extra support.
I feel like right now I'm so creatively inspired because we're experiencing so many different things, traveling so many different places, meeting so many different people, where I feel so creatively inspired because I'm living so much life that I have to pull from creatively.
That's actually a great point. I didn't think about that.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to We Are Meant to United podcast. Today, I have a very special couple of guests, the ladies of Zella. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us. We're
Thank you so
excited to
much
be
for
here.
having us.
I'm so honored to be here with you both. You folks are popping in the music industry right now, and I'm sure some of our listeners are familiar with your music. But for those who are not, just introduce yourselves as individuals and also your music that you do collaboratively.
Yeah.
So my name's Juj. Kiana, do you want- I'm sorry, I'm thinking
Um,
we always like say we're Zella at the same time. Like,
we,
hey,
we
we're
can we
Zella.
can do our little thing. Ready? One, two, three.
Hey, we're Zella. Is that your
Oh, I would
introduction?
say
Oh,
I'm Juj,
I'm
I'm Kiana.
Juj. Yeah, okay.
I'm
I'm Juj.
Kiana, and we're Zella.
Oh, it's the delay, Kiana. We're usually together. Wait, one more time.
Okay,
Okay,
let's try it again.
I'm Juj.
I'm Kiana,
And
and
we're
we're Zella.
Zella. We're also usually normally in the same place. We used to
Yeah.
live together for a while, so we're like used to having the synergy of like doing these things. It's weird being on Zoom, like not being next to Kiana. It's kind of
I know
fun.
she's with me 24/7. It's so funny that she's not physically right next to me. But a little background. I'm Persian, Jude is Brazilian. We've been best friends for years now, and Zella is an artist DJ duo comprised of the both of us. We're both writers, singers, vocal producers, even producers. We have so many different realms of music that we both tap into together, and yeah, it's just it's we're besties. We do this together, and it's what we love doing most.
Yeah, I'm from Philadelphia and Kiana's from California. We both live in LA now, but one of us is from the East Coast, one of us is from the West Coast. And like she said, us both being, I'm Brazilian, she's Persian. We're both first generation Americans. So I feel like although, like I said, we lived on separate parts of the country, we have a lot of commonalities in the way we were brought up. So that's kind of what makes us, bring us together, kind of what made us friends in the first place before we even did music and worked together.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely incredible. I love to hear that. And shout out to the East Coast, Juge. I spent a good 4 or 5 years on that part of the world, and now I'm like out in the West. I
Where
do
were
consider
you?
I was in upstate New York for a little bit. Yeah,
I
yeah.
went to
So,
camp there. I went to camp in like near the Catskill Mountains. I went to theater camp stage door there. Yeah.
oh wow, that's incredible. And
Yeah.
I know you've mentioned that like art, writing, music has been like part of your journeys from like very early in your life, and now you mentioned you've also went to camp when you were still young. So tell us a little bit about that, like about your journey and your early ages and your connection with the arts and music.
So Kiana and I we both have had like a very big musical upbringing. Her dad and her Persian culture has inspired a lot of her musical upbringing. And for me, being Brazilian, my mom was a dancer, moved to America in hopes for a better life and all of that. So I had music playing. I really don't have anyone that like sings in my family. People always ask that, but I had music playing all the time growing up. And from early on, I just like wanted to perform. I wanted to entertain. That was like what made me happy, whether it was like putting on a show. When I was 5, they had like young videos of me in my like, diapers. I don't know if you have a diaper on at 5, so I don't know if that's the appropriate age, but there's just videos of me very young, barely could talk, and I'm like watching Annie and just doing all the movements. And then that brought me into working professionally in theater. And that was something that my mom had 3 kids, and like my dad had traveled, so she was really just raising us three by herself. So I really wanted to like go after and pursue the whole child acting thing. It just like wasn't really feasible for my mom to like leave her other kids that she was taking care of full time and take me to these auditions that I would find online. So there was a will and there was a way, and I found ways. I would take the bus to New York at an age that some parents might not find appropriate for me going by myself, but I wanted to do it. And yeah, I started doing like equity productions and working professionally as a kid in theater, and that's kind of what like started, I would say, me in my professional realm working in entertainment. Then I got into some like TV film opportunities in like early high school, and that's what made me want to move out to LA where I had met Kiana. Kiana too, I will let her speak for her upbringing as well, but she was more like into like jazz, doing some rock bands. She even like had a stint with Run DMC here in LA, like so LA, like little Kiana singing with Run DMC. But yeah, our paths crossed once I had moved out to here in LA. I actually moved out here to pursue TV film acting. Although I loved music, I had an agent that I had signed with, and that's what brought me out to LA. So I thought acting was like going to be my full focus, but I still was performing at local coffee shops around here, Crave Cafe and Studio City, performing my original music, and then all of my opportunities led with music, and that's just what I ended up doing full time. At Kiana, we became a writing duo before we became Zella, and yeah, I had a career in pop music, doing my own individual project, expressing myself, and now we're doing electronic music, which I'm really happy. And we write for other artists, so I still get to fulfill my passion doing like country, pop, and a ton of different genres within writing for other people.
Yeah.
Wow.
And me, it's like she said, I started out, my dad played piano growing up. My family was all kind of musically talented, but they didn't have the same opportunities I did. So they just kind of stuck to the safe life. And for me, like I was given the chance to have the support to be able to go after a more creative lifestyle. So I was doing music growing up. I was in a rock and roll band. I did backup for Run DMC when I was a kid. Like I was in some interesting circles. Had a very interesting timeline, but I ended up just meeting Juj and understanding what she did. I was already making music. It inspired me to have my own project. I realized I did not enjoy doing it by myself. It wasn't for me, but I really got into writing and production, and that was something that sparked a lot of interest for me. So when Juj approached me and said, "Do you want to do a project together?" I was very, very excited. Because I could never imagine doing this without my best friend. Like literally doing this with her is what makes this experience so wonderful and so just once in a lifetime for me. It makes it so enjoyable. The support system it
Yeah,
brings, being two women,
Mhm.
like I literally physically don't, I could not do this without her. Um,
likewise, yeah.
so yeah, she approached me. We started doing it, and it just kind of felt right. It worked. It didn't have, me and Jude work very hard, and we work really hard together. But it kind of went its own route. It was kind of almost fate that it kind of
Yeah.
fell out like that.
To play off kind of what she said too, like in light of your podcast, before me and Kiana had our project together, although like we've been doing separate things and I was progressing in my own like independent artist career in pop, I had never another she had done the whole like tour life, and now like this being our first opportunity, really like we play shows every single weekend. This is our first weekend, this weekend and last weekend in like 2, 3 months that we've been home in LA. Now like knowing what that is like, and even like I don't want to say mental toll because we're grateful and honored to even to get to be doing it, but just knowing it, like adjusting, like I don't know, mentally how you feel not being home and stuff. I think it would be really hard for me to do it alone. I think me and Kiana doing it together makes me a lot more comfortable doing it. I feel a lot more supported. Just it grounds me a lot more not having to do the tour life by myself.
100%. Same with
Definitely,
me.
definitely. Yeah, I feel like with touring specifically, like I spend a lot of time in like the sports and entertainment and like music fields, just talking to people, and people say like, oh, it's like an athlete, they're going on the field, it's their job, like they have to deliver, or like, okay, this person's on tour, but do they think about the physical and mental demands that it takes on a person, and like it's like going to work, but you're doing it for an extended amount of time. It's extremely physically demanding, and because you have to give it your all every single
Yeah.
night. So that's like you're giving everything you have, and then in the morning you're getting ready to do it all over again. So I'm really glad that you touched on that a little bit, and that the companionship has been central to that experience.
We're also people too. I mean, Kiana and I, like as individuals, we have a lot of introverted qualities. Like speaking for myself too, like I've grown to become more comfortable and acknowledge them the older I get. And it's interesting working in night. I would say like we work in nightlife because all of our shows are mostly like at night,
At night.
yeah, so it's like when we're not working, because that, like you said, like those opportunities and those shows, we are working, that is a job. When we're not doing that, like I choose to spend my like off time very differently than people would expect. Like I don't really necessarily like love on a Saturday night at this point in my life going to a club if we're not working or not going to support another friend. Like I choose like to stay at home. I like to have quality time with the people around me. I like to do earlier
Mhm.
things, earlier nights, play games, play a video game, whatever it is. And sometimes there is a stigma behind that because we are in like a male dominated industry where it's not maybe the cool thing for us to be doing at 25. Like we get pushed a lot and a lot of pressure to surround ourselves with this industry and like in like what is the word I would say, like not involve ourselves but really like make our entire life
Just
centered around,
embody what we represent in
yeah,
this
like and make
industry.
it our whole life. And I think that culture can be a little bit unhealthy because like although I love to do it and I love when we are doing it, when we're working, going to support other friends, like I need balance in my life, and balance is not making that my entire life. That is not healthy for me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Me and Jude are very big on prioritizing. Like me and Jude like do cryotherapy, infrared therapy, IVs. We do like all the ginger shots. We do that on a weekly basis when in this kind of circuit because it's important to take care of yourself. I think that even though it's a party industry, like it's not cool to not care about yourself. I personally think like it's just not cool to not prioritize yourself and your health and your well-being. And I think that that's starting to actually become very it's a very prominent message in this industry. Important people are starting to push that more and more so that you have to take care of yourself and you have to balance out your life properly,
Yeah.
set your boundaries. And me and her are really, really in that phase of doing that properly.
It's not
Yeah.
sustainable. It's really not.
Yeah.
Kat and I actually don't drink, and not that it matters, like, but we don't drink at most shows. Like, it's just
Yeah.
not sustainable. Like we said, like it is a job, and like the longevity, we want to be doing this forever,
Yeah.
and it's just not really realistic. Yeah, to
Absolutely.
do it in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, I'm really glad you shined some light on that because it's like it's not like it's not like Instagram like where everything you see is just like real life. It's artists are real people that have like real human needs and have their own way of refreshing themselves and caring for themselves. That's very different from like what's put out there on social media for everyone to kind of look at and digest.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. Like, no, we love having a good time. We love having a night out. Like, we love that. We love
yeah,
music. I love playing sober. I feel like I connect to
yeah,
people more sonically if I'm sober, even sometimes. Like, the experience doesn't go away, but balance is so important in
yeah,
this industry.
Definitely, absolutely agree. Um, and I really love that a lot of the work you've done together is well, sorry about that. I really love that a lot of the work you've been doing together is just reaching so many people and connecting and resonating with so many people. And I want to ask you a little bit about like how you manage communication and collaboration, working so closely on something that is so important to you. So, what does that part of your life look like for you?
between the two of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a great question because people always ask us, like, Kiana and I are best friends, business partners. We used to live together for years. This is the first year we haven't lived together. We live 2 minutes down the street. I moved in with my boyfriend, so it's not like we're living far, but people are like, people cannot fathom like how we don't want to wring
Get
each
sick
other's
of each
neck, or
other.
yeah, how this is sustainable. But I think what we've like come two things that I would say. One is like boundaries and communication. That's like really big for us. Like even when we were living together, it's like I'm very much need my alone time. She needs her alone time, and like we don't disrespect each other's boundaries in any needs. And also, if there's any sort of boundary crossing that hasn't been predetermined, like we just communicate about it in a really mature, healthy way, and don't let it get passive or aggressive either way. And then my other thing I would say is we did notice when we started doing this because Kiana and I are friends first, which I think makes for the best working relationship because the core like part to our relationships that we are friends before business partners. But we did realize at one point there was like I don't want to say like there was some weird dynamic, but we just realized we were not prioritizing enough time for our friendship where it was only we were only together when it was business related. We were only talking about business related matters, and it just didn't feel like we had the same connection and communication. So we decided to also make time for us to be together as friends and not just in a work setting because that's how we met each other and how we became best friends in the first place was not through this business affair. It was for through being best friends. So that's important for us.
I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly what it is. It really is. And I think like especially like now that we're at a place where we're not only grinding as hard as we used to when we were younger, we're also like reaping the benefits, meaning getting to travel and go on these crazy adventures that we literally have 1,000 stories about and like doing all these crazy things like as best friends we're just having fun. Like I feel like that brings us so much closer every time that we do these things together because it's like we're just like two small 5 foot little girls going on this crazy adventure and it's just it's the funniest thing in the world so like I think that has definitely been a really cool experience for us together.
Absolutely incredible. That's so inspiring to hear that. And I feel like with a lot of collaborations or when friendships are blooming into professional relationships, I feel like people can always struggle a little bit to how do we, where do we draw boundaries? Like, how do we communicate? So I think there's a lot of takeaways in what you shared with us. So thank you.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the process of like creating music together. You folks have a very extensive background in writing, producing, and now DJing. And I know you have more goals in the future to also be singing in your performances. So tell me a little bit about like the creative process and getting the creative juices flowing.
Yeah. For us, I think like we don't really have a set way of making a record. What we have been actually experiencing a lot lately, and I'll give this to Juj. Juj has been on a wave recently where she has been so creatively inspired, and I love when she gets in her pockets. And she's been coming up with a lot of cool like a line or a word or a melody. I mean, we just made a song maybe a few days ago with a word that she's been trying to put in a song for maybe about a year now. So like we have so many just like overflowing ideas that when we are not touring and we get a second to actually sit in a studio and work on it, we're so grateful to be making music that we get really tapped in. And the flow goes from just an inspirational piece, like I said, a word or a melody or a top line, and we just kind of work off each other. We're very in sync. So she knows exactly parts that she likes to write. I know parts I like to write. She'll give me ideas, I'll give her mine. We kind of just we have like a telepathic communication system now almost in a sense. When it comes to writing, I don't even have to ask her sometimes. I know what she's going to say. And we it's just very collaborative. I feel like that's the biggest part. It's collaborative with me, her, and whoever's in the room.
Yeah, we want to write with new people. Like we want to open ourselves up to collaborating with other writers. But the thing that I would find hard about that is Kiana and I, like she said, like we have such a telepathic way of communicating that I don't want someone to feel like left out. Like I feel like we'd have to write differently because like we finish each other's sentences a lot of times. People
All the
say,
time.
yeah, and we come from different backgrounds where I come from more of like a Nashville style of writing where I just like a good song with a guitar and she comes from more of like an R&B freestyle side. So we've learned to kind of I think that's what's like the best part about it is I've learned a lot of things from her and vice versa and we have this like style of writing that is literally just a culmination of both of our experiences. And it's really interesting when people are in the room with us, they always like it's an experience because you know how it feels like to work with like one person, but me and Kiana are two people that like already have a synergy that we bring to every room the same it's the same synergy each time and it's
Yeah.
just like the two of us feeding off of each other and when someone watches it it's like crazy to them because people are usually used to like working with individuals rather than like two people that have this synergy that they just bring into each room that they go into. And one other thing that she said that made me think I feel like another thing I can't write if I don't like live or if I'm not inspired. And I feel like we went to London in December and although it was a great trip now that it just like brought a thought to my mind, some of the music like we don't really resonate as much with anymore. And I think the reason we didn't is we went into that trip having not lived a lot before. Like we spent a few months not touring. We were working through some like business music stuff, weren't releasing music, we weren't doing much. So we didn't have much like life experience to pull from where I feel like right now I'm so creatively inspired because we're experiencing so many different things, traveling so many different places, meeting so many different people where I feel so creatively inspired because I'm living so much life that I have to pull from creatively.
That's actually a great point. I didn't think
I
about that.
don't know. It's like
Yeah.
even like the flights and like everything, like there's
Well,
just a new
we had
experience.
so much anxiety. I think it was anxious driven that we really needed to make music. We really
Yeah.
wanted to, but we needed to almost in a sense. And I feel like that completely creatively just like confused us. Whereas now me and her are like so inspired all the time and we just cannot wait to go home and actually get a session in when we're not on the road. So I didn't think about it, but that's actually very true.
Yeah. I even like also this is like it for me. I like my boyfriend also is in music, and we talk about this because I think we both like come from different places creatively when we write. I don't necessarily have to write from an experience that's first person. I write a lot of ideas of like when my friends have like relationship things, or I like to read a lot. So if I like find something in a character in a book I'm reading and I can like write off of that experience. Like I don't necessarily have to write music from a first person experience, only things I've lived through. I actually find that I draw a lot of inspiration through other people's situations. I'm like, sorry guys, like, but like I'm drawing things from whether it's a character or someone in my life. Like that's something I've always noticed for years that I actually write more off of other people's lived experiences that I just creatively
Yeah,
tap into.
same here.
That's
Yeah.
that's really amazing. I talk about that a little bit with my friends because I have a lot of friends, like girlfriends, all different parts of the world, and I tell them like I'd like learn life from your experiences. I don't know if that makes sense, but now it does
Yeah.
because you have the same experience. And
Yeah.
I'm like I don't need to go through something myself to understand and grow from it. Like if someone close to me is going through it and sharing their emotions of like how it's making them feel and like how it's playing out in their lives, I can actually like fully grasp that and like carry it with me. So I just think it's so cool that for you it has materialized to
Yeah.
creativeness and like
Yeah.
actual tangible thing, and it's like music now. So
I think
that's
it's
really
being an
cool.
empath. I really do. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
I think it's being an empath. Not that like people who don't do that aren't empaths, but I've always been like actually to a fault, like too empathetic where I think it's like obviously that can present in like people pleasing tendencies or like just being a sponge and like literally not being able to absorb other people's negativity where I think that like is just my not in like oh empath, but like I think it's being an empath that you're able to like take your friends' experiences and like make them your own and learn.
Absolutely.
I think that's really comes from being an empath.
I
Yeah.
think it's also easier for me, I've noticed, and this is no matter how self-aware you are, it is easier to understand others than it is yourself at times. So for me, like that's something that I kept realizing. Like whenever I am trying to be self-aware and understand where I'm at, I realize that how can I process and completely understand and empathize with someone else's entire story, their struggles, but I can't even understand my own. I think your own self journey takes a lot longer than the ones perceived around you, and I think that's why it's a lot easier too.
Yeah, definitely, Kiana. That's actually like really beautiful. I've been reading like small quotes around how, like, if someone was going through a difficult experience, you would sympathize with them. You'd be like, "Oh, I wish I could help. How can I help?" And like, this person is struggling. But if you're going through those same struggles, you're like, "Well, I should do better. Like, why do I feel this
Yeah.
way? You know, why am I so stressed? Like, and you get all those you get in a negative feedback loop and you're now more anxious because of something that is actually like pretty serious that is going on with you, and like you should get support from it. So I'm really glad that you bring that up. Circling back a little bit, Jude, you said that when you listen to some of the old tracks that you've created, you feel a little bit disconnected with them. But you've spoken about your one of your latest songs, "Why Should I," which is currently charting #1 in the U.S. dance radio charts. And you both kind of mentioned how that is a song that's very close to you. So tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that song charted actually a year ago. So we went number one. That song was a year ago, went number one. So it's not currently number one on the Billboard charts. That was last March. So it was a great moment for Kiana and I. Like I said before, I think I mentioned like super unexpected in some ways. Like Kiana and I really felt very strongly about that song where we knew it was going to do great things, but I can't say that we ever knew it was going to take us that far in a journey just through that song. That was our third song ever released as Zella, but we still have so much love for Why Should I? And
So much
sonically,
love.
we're so much love. I mean, it brought us so many amazing things and continues to. But that song, sonically, I don't think we resonate as much with, but that doesn't mean that we'll ever abandon or not love it. It's like our baby. And like I said, it's brought so much life to us. But right now, we're on a very different track sonically. And it just took us having to live and get to know ourselves as people and artists to understand that and writing a lot of music. This year, we both like personally been through a lot of things, and as a duo in a business, we've been through a lot of things, and we had to take a step back and creatively get re-inspired and also just like let life run its course with everything that was going on. So last year, like we weren't playing a ton of shows, like I mentioned, before going to London to get re-inspired and write in December. For 6 months, we were not releasing music. We didn't release music for a year, and we didn't like play many shows. And now we're just getting back into like who are we and what message do we want to bring as Zella and as people. And it took us like a second to make sure that we were doing it super authentically. And we're really excited, like you said, to start to be singing during those shows. And we just wanted to make sure whatever music that we were putting out represented like where we are in this moment, and doesn't even have to necessarily represent something bigger than us, but just like what we are creatively super inspired to share. And right now, moving forward, it's going to be more rhythmic dance vocals, with a darker, faster, more electronic sound with some hyper pop elements. So very different from the UK piano house that was Why Should I and Do This Forever. We have a song next week called Origami, which is a great blend of both. And I wouldn't say it is our next sound. That is not like the music we will be releasing, but it's a perfect blend from what we were releasing and what will be the future of Zella. So that comes out next week. It's like I said, our first song in like almost a year since, I mean, Do This Forever came out a few months ago, but that is very similar to Why Should I? So, I mean, I'm excited. We have a show with Galantis in June, and we have that weekend we're doing like New York. Friday, Saturday we're doing a headline in Cleveland, and then Sunday we're doing a show with Galantis in Cleveland, and that will be, I believe, our first weekend live vocals. So we are so excited for that because after that, there's no turning back because that's who we are. We're excited to sing during our sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I'm so excited for people to be hearing this probably for the first time on this channel. So, yay.
I
That's
know,
really
Yay!
yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
That's awesome, honestly. And congrats, you guys. You've come such a really long way. And I also kind of resonate with you folks just being around the same age and going through similar like cycles in our life, like being in our early 20s. But I do want to ask you, like, how do you make sure that like your mental clarity is maintained so that you can really connect with yourself as you've been doing this past few months?
I mean, I feel like that's an ongoing question, something Kiana and I like continue to check in with each other about. Like that, we haven't found the answer yet to that. I will be like completely honest. And
That's
it's
very
not,
honest. Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to act like we have it all figured out because we definitely don't. But I'll let Kiana speak more to it. But I feel like having each other really helps. And I will be honest, I do think it's been harder the past couple of months. Like I said, being on flights, having a lot of time to think in those moments, being so busy with work that the only time that we really have to think, we have to find more balance in just grounding ourselves and grounding our, I don't know, human connections with people and really being present in the moment because everything's so go with our life
Yeah.
right now that I myself find it hard to not go crazy and think about some crazy existential doubts and anxieties that come up in our 20s. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My dog hears something in the hallway. He
Sorry,
starts,
my dog did the same thing.
Cuddy, shh.
You're good.
His mental's a little bit on the brink. Um, but sorry, I just didn't I'm sorry to
Your thing,
keep
your
cutting you
thing,
off.
do your thing.
But yeah, no, I fully agree with her. I think that we don't know the answer to that yet, just yet. I think that um taking care of ourselves physically and making sure our health is for priority is super important. I think that like I sometimes go to therapy if I'm having a really rough week, and I make sure I'm very like comfortable in knowing when I need the extra support. Um I think that being together, like she said, like Juj is my best friend, and I expect her to hold me accountable when I need help or when I'm struggling in ways, when I'm not supporting her or when I'm neglecting myself. She gives me that she gives me those cue points and I take them. And vice versa. I think that we've been making a lot of time for family recently, which has been really, really important to the both of us. Being in our mid 20s, you're in that existential crisis of you're getting older, your parents are getting older, so I think regardless of the busy life we have, we really try to prioritize seeing our parents. And I think just being kind. I think Jude said something yesterday that really stuck with me, and it kind of calmed my head because I was even having a little bit of anxiety yesterday over something, and she goes, there'll always be something else. So like there's always going to be something else that you got to do. There's always another pinnacle to reach. There's always another mountain climb. There's always going to be something else. So it's like I think that's something that hit me where it's like be kinder to ourselves, like that be kind to yourself at this age. You're figuring a lot out. There's always going to be something else. There's always going to be another
Yeah.
thing you're going to have to do, another a task you're going to try to achieve. You can win a Grammy and then you're going to want an Oscar. There's always going to be something. So it's like I think a big lesson is being patient and being kind and being self-aware. Definitely doing the work now at this age is super important when it comes to those things.
I was telling Kiana that like, although I feel like I have like new bigger anxieties, and that's like at this age and it's more stressful. The one like positive thing about it, and Kiana has seen this, and like I've told her, it's just like a new outlook and perspective it's given me. Is like I really, and I'm working at it. It's not like it's like perfect, but specifically in the past couple of weeks, like I'm not as anxious about the small things. Like if some, whether it's like work or like a missed opportunity or something goes wrong, of course, like my old self like would have consumed me, but now it's like the Kim, there are people dying, like the Kardashians, where I'm just like that meme. I'm just like there are so many worse things, and although like I want to make sure I'm still giving the attention everything deserves, I also don't give too much energy to the small things when there are much worse things in life going on. Yeah.
I agree.
Well, that's really beautifully put. Thank you for sharing that with me and also being authentic about it. And this is being telling me like what it's really like because, like you said, I don't think most of us have figured it out yet. But it's about setting those small intentions that we can reach at, and also like
Mhm.
implementing different techniques that helps you manage your anxiety because it's really tough at this age. And with that, I'll just also get into a little bit about like a lot of people in our generation spend a lot of time in quarantine or like isolated during COVID, and that has changed like our the way that we react to different stimulants. But tell me a little bit about like what that experience was for you, just being separated or isolated, and also I feel like for artists it's a little bit more difficult because a lot of your work relies on having people
Yeah.
together and coming together as a community.
Well, funny enough, Yana and I had a very different experience with COVID. We lived together, so I honestly didn't feel as much alone. Obviously, both of
No.
us. Yeah, I feel quite the opposite. Like Kiana and I, we had boyfriends and we also were living together where like we had a sense of community that we were obviously isolated, not seeing other people, but we were not alone. Like the people, we had people that we were quarantining with. And I feel like we were 20 when COVID happened and there was a lot of self-exploration I think was like definitely necessary at that time. And so if anything, I actually like am I don't want to say I'm grateful because obviously there's so much about COVID that was like hard for both of us and also like it was a pandemic across the world, but I'm grateful for what I took out of it and like the positives I could find because I think I found a lot of parts of myself that I wouldn't have taken the time to slow down if COVID didn't happen. And Zella was actually born a few years after COVID. And I think during that self-exploration in 2020, we learned a lot about ourselves that I maybe Zella wouldn't have happened if we didn't have the time to slow down.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's incredible to take such a challenging time and like use it to um, take some time for yourself, which you otherwise would not probably have gotten that much time alone to reflect and just connect with yourselves. So that's really incredible that
We weren't
you know.
touring or anything. So like right
Yeah.
now it would be terrible because we'd lose the majority of our income and it would be but that wasn't our income. Everything that we were doing was remote. Kiana and I worked marketing jobs previous to
Yeah.
Zella and like that's a huge part of our story. We own our own marketing business aside from entertainment. But with that, I mean, yeah, the economy is down. Nobody
It was
wanted to.
difficult being
It
I
was
was a
different
student
then.
too, like being in
Yeah.
school, stuff like that. Like I had to do school online, which I had to pay full tuition for, which was tough, but like,
But we weren't touring, so the majority
things
of our
like that
income
were kind
wasn't
of,
lost.
yeah, we weren't
Yeah.
touring. Yeah,
Right
so the
now it would
majority
be
wasn't
very
lost.
difficult.
I think
Mhm.
at the same time, it's what we've been saying and what we always know deep down. It's like we were together. It really like a big thing about this place in life is like regardless of the bad, like Juj mentioned, like being able to scale bad to worse.
Hmm.
There's so much gratitude here. We live
Yeah.
in gratitude every single day. I wake up every morning grateful. In that time in my life, and I look back, all I think is I'm just grateful she was there with me. It's
Yeah.
just a bunch of gratitude. Yeah.
Oh, that is so sweet, and I love hearing that folks are there for each other through thick and thin. It's really empowering. Um,
Yeah.
I yeah, I want to ask you a little bit about like touring because well, everyone must be wondering what it's like. But like, how do you motivate yourselves in the morning? Like, what does your routine look like? How do you get into that headspace and also make sure that you're nurturing yourself within the
Mhm.
process? Because tours can go on for like a long period of time.
Yeah. I think it was hard at first myself to adjust to that schedule. Like I said, I'm mostly a homebody, but I love what I do. So that's like the biggest motivating factor is like there's nothing more exciting than having a show day and getting to perform that night. And I can't imagine when we start singing how I'll feel that even then. But I think for me, what makes it a little easier, like for pop artists and a lot of other artists in different genres, it's very different than the touring schedule that Kiana and I are on as electronic artists.
Mm-hmm.
So like for like Broadway actors and like pop actors, like they are on a bus for months and they don't get off the bus, and they're not just doing shows on weekends, whereas our shows are really only on weekends, so we have the week to go home typically. And we go and perform. It is like during the weekend, it's a lot. Like Friday could be like they'll route us a lot of times, financial reasons too. It makes sense to do like like I said, Friday we're doing New York, Saturday Cleveland, the next Sunday Cleveland, where it's like boom, 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 and it's late, late, late nights. But I find it a bit easier having that schedule and then getting to go back to LA a lot of times during the week and then resetting and then going back to whatever city we're in on the weekends. But it was definitely an adjustment period for me. I'm trying to think of,
No, it was for me too.
yeah,
I still haven't adjusted, I'll be honest. I still have
yeah.
not adjusted at all, and I would be lying if I said I did. I can't sleep on a plane all the time. Like I don't have the down yet. Definitely don't have it down, but I will say like it's exciting. I did not travel at all before Zella. And
This
for
is the
me,
most we've both traveled in our entire life. Like we literally have seen so much of the country I never thought I would have seen.
Like really rarely ever been out of other like any other state in the US. Like for me, like this has been already like a crazy experience just being like grateful to travel. And we don't get to do much when we travel because we're usually just there for a day or two, doing doing the show or preparing or doing like shoots, things like that. But when we do get a chance to just go on an adventure together, when we do shows, like oh my God, it's like so much fun.
It's fun.
And it's so fun. And I think that for us, like touring, the routine is basically just, we leave, we take our vitamins, we get our set prepped, we go do our show, and then, oh my God, after a show, I feel like I have done a marathon. My
Well, that's the
body.
biggest thing. Yeah, Kiana and I are not, like I said, partiers in that sense. Like we know how to have a good time and we like to have a good time, but that's where we have to set boundaries because the afters, things like that, like I think people, like we said, misunderstand artists and what we do and not realize that we're people. Like we played the same show last night where it's nice after to get to go to our bed after we perform and recollect ourselves for the next day, next show, next flight, whatever that is. And sometimes that can be looked at as like a party pooper, but I mean, at this point, I never cared. I have health issues myself that I mentioned to Kat. Like I have Lyme disease. So that was the biggest adjustment for me touring wise. Because for me, it's not as simple as the average 25-year-old taking like vitamin C, making sure they don't get sick. Like I have to make sure I manage myself. And that's already hard in of itself, having coming back and being exhausted and then not being able to take care of myself in ways that I'm like trying to find balance with. But I'm really firm when it comes to boundaries. Like after my show, if I want to go to my bed, like nobody is going to pressure me otherwise. And I've made to feel like the party pooper sometimes, and I don't really care because it makes me feel better the next day when I prioritize myself. Kiana knows like I'm not going to be told like made to feel bad for putting myself first. Like I just will be like, I'm done with my job. I'm going to bed.
Yep, I respect it so much, as she should.
That's amazing to hear that. And I love that for you both, honestly speaking, because I am very familiar with the demands that arise in the music industry and how artists are usually exploited. So to hear that, you're taking your power back and showing others, like, also how it can be done and drawing boundaries, it really
Yeah.
inspires me to hear that quite a lot, actually. But
Well, thank
yeah.
we also don't do drugs. So like a lot of like being completely honest, a lot of these people who are doing these 24-hour shows, going to 7 a.m. doing these shows, like a lot of times that's with the use of drugs. And I've never done a drug in my life and it's just not me. And without drugs, I don't know how it would be sustainable to be doing these like acts of God in some of these cases, performing at 7 in the morning and then not getting any sleep. That's just not for me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not realistic too because the
No.
human body needs some hours of sleep to like recover and be
Mhm.
yourself again. Because like yeah, I stay up for the whole night sometimes, and when people are talking to me at 5 a.m., I can hear them, but I cannot listen to them because it's like what you're saying is not processing in my brain because I didn't get any sleep.
Wait,
That's
do you have
why
insomnia?
a little bit.
That's
Just
something I struggle with a lot with. Like I have insomnia and it's gotten a lot better this year, thank God, because previous wise, like the touring would not have been possible if I didn't really get that as much under control. So I can relate to that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I'm like trying to be way
A
more
function.
disciplined about my sleep, and like I have like a printed resource that like shows exactly what time I have to go to sleep. It's a very adulting thing that I'm doing, but
I love that for you. I love that.
It's
thank you.
awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Um, I also want to ask you folks, like you touched on it a little bit about like drawing boundaries, but being in a male-dominated field, especially like in DJing and electronic
Mhm.
music, how do you, make sure that you're heard and you're not always just kind of going with whatever is being put out there and like making sure that things are going your way and like in your preferred method, whether that's
That's
with
interesting.
mm-hmm.
Mm.
We've dealt with that. So I like
Yeah.
that's we definitely we can say we've dealt with that. So I mean, we had to have learned. We didn't know at first. I don't think we asserted our boundaries correctly at first.
Ever.
I also think that was our own personal journeys. Like we both like had instances of like the response of wanting to be people pleasers and not really knowing from our own personal life how to deal with that. But I think we've learned to navigate it a lot better. What would you say, Kiana?
Yeah, I think that it takes not being in your power to then want to go and find it. And I think that me and Juge, you know, we it can happen sometimes when a woman asserts herself in a respectful way that, she's looked at as like problematic versus if a man does it and he looks like he's just setting a boundary. It's just like respect, dude. Like it's sometimes if a woman does it, she looks a little cuckoo. So I think that we, have to find that balance where it's like we're not female DJs, we're DJs. We are people. We're
Yeah,
not like it's like there's no there's no like there's nothing that divides us. We have every right to be able to just speak our minds and respect people and be respected as anybody else does. And I think for us it took time to do the self-healing to to find the confidence and the support system within each other to be able to put ourselves in those situations and actually advocate for what we want and where we want to be versus just kind of nodding your head and just kind of going with the flow because I
yeah.
think we did that. We didn't like what happened when we did that, and we decided, you know what, what's the point if you can't do it your way or the way that you think is best or authentic to you, then why are you doing it in the first place?
I think we also want to be on lineups because we're good. We don't want to just like meet a quota for how many females have to be on the lineups. Like we want to see a ton of more females on the lineups, but I don't think it's really empowering to women to mention that they're on the lineups just because they want to have more female DJs. Like we want to be on the lineups because we think we're good and we can play like the boys type of thing. So I think changing the narrative of it being a boys club in the electronic industry, it's 2025. Like it doesn't need to be that way.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree.
Definitely,
I
definitely.
fully agree.
I love that, and I 100% agree too. But it's really interesting because it's like a lot of the industries, like the big industries, when from the outside, it's like, oh, everything is fine and stuff like that. But when you dive into it a little deeper, you see like how layered these things are. And like you mentioned, some things are a boys' club, but you might not have known that otherwise unless you're like in the field and you're actually like a part of it. So I'm glad you share that, and I think a lot of young artists are gonna be inspired by that. So you guys mentioned you have a marketing background, which is also my background, so really fun.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, I find that really exciting, and you've taken a different approach to how you market your music than just like going viral, right? Something we say here on this channel is like make good content, the people will come. And I feel like you kind of resonate with that a little bit. So
Yeah.
tell me about your journey of like how you chose to put your music out there and let it connect with people first.
Oh, I like that.
That's a
Yeah.
great question. I think when we like when
For
we
artists before content creators. Like that's
yeah,
like the
we're
biggest thing is I know I like to make music and I don't really know like how to go viral. That's like I don't
I
know.
was gonna say I don't know how to if I had the answers, girl, you'd see
Yeah, we would have
it.
played Coachella this year because right now that's the state of the industry. But um, yeah, I think it's interesting because we had to adapt because being stubborn and defensive, not wanting to be content creators and only be artistic, like actually was like to our fault because we have to adapt to the industry and that's like the way it took a turn. But it took a while for us because we just like to make good music and sometimes right now the art is not speaking for itself. It's more the virality and social media and that's just like not naturally us. So we're learning along the way. Um,
Yeah.
we're artists first though, so I feel like that's just like what's natural to us. Being an influencer or content creator is not natural to us, but it's a part of the job description at this point now, so we're just like learning along the way.
True. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Like we're not waking up in the morning so excited to make a TikTok, and I hate to say that, but like it's the truth. Like I'm
It's
not like
true.
so excited the night before to make a TikTok the next day, but I'm really excited to get into the studio. I'm excited to perform. And now we found ways to make the content like us and fun. Like I look forward to all of our recaps after our shows. We found ways to get fun in it, and it hasn't yet led to the virality that the music industry, I think, is looking for in terms of, but I also think there's a shift because in 2020 there was a ton of these like artists that would have this one big song, and it didn't really prove longevity within 5 years from now. Like those artists did not have the artist development to be able to have a catalog of songs and to be able to do these tours because they had that one moment. And I think now we're seeing that these moments are not long-standing careers, so I think there will be a shift and we're all just adjusting.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Definitely, definitely. I also want to speak a little bit about like how you've utilized your roots, like Kiana, your Persian roots, to kind of draw and bring that back to the music that you're currently doing, and also your backgrounds in like different genre of music, and you've also been mixing the genres up a little bit, which is not too common in the music industry. They kind of want you to stick with your genre. So tell me a little bit about, how you're doing things your own way and you're drawing from your own background.
So, I mean, for me, I think for me, Persian music, the Persian language is very beautiful. It's very poetic. It's Persian culture is very to the core, very kind and very melodic when it comes to music. I think for me, I love R&B. I love a good like flow. A lot of those things for me, building block wise, came from a lot of inspiration in Persian music. Um, and I think that for me, a big thing is even Brazilian is like Portuguese music, even Brazilian music like Portuguese. I love music like Spanish. I love French. I can speak French too. I'm fluent in French. So like for me it's like it's not just one thing. I think for me I grew up listening to rock and roll. I like listened to classic rock. I was like Stones, Toto, like all these things like I would listen to growing up. Al Green, then jazz side. Like I listen to so much music. I think for me it's so eclectic that it just kind of was a combination of my culture and a love and respect for other cultures that really kind of got me to this point right now because there's nothing more than I love than to bring even Juj's culture like a bossa nova. I like kind of influences something like it's just all time and place, but yeah, I think it's just being exposed to a lot growing up. That was definitely it.
Yeah, I would resonate. Sorry, my mom's here with me. My
Hi,
mom is
mom.
here. You can say hi, mom. You can say
Say hi, mom.
hi,
Hey
everybody.
mom, welcome to the
That's
channel.
why I was learning the noise. But yeah, my mom is Brazilian, like Kiana mentioned too. So I feel like I said, although she's not um vocally gifted, I would say there was always, yeah, music. And I mentioned that she was a dancer too. So I was always surrounded by music, and then also my theater background. I just love telling a story, and I think I lost a little bit of that. Not, that's why maybe I say like I don't want to say that I don't want to like specifically mention that with why should I, but when we went to electronic music, like the storytelling is kind of lost and people don't care as much about the lyrics and the narrative, but that's something that's really important to me, and that's why I grew up doing theater. And I initially my love for music came from pop and country, and the basis of all of those genres is storytelling. So I think for me, I'm just passionate about bringing back the storytelling and finding a way to incorporate it in electronic music because at the end of the day, like I just want to make someone feel something in the audience. And the best way for me to do that is by telling a story.
I completely agree. I cannot wait. I know there's so much more music and so
Yeah.
many more different journeys
Even
within
the music
music
that
for
we're like we
us.
have coming out that we're gonna sing for the Galantis show, like I'm not saying that these songs itself are this like narrative of this beautiful story, but they do make me feel something. And I don't even need someone. I'm not saying like I need to emote to like cry, but there's so many other different emotions that I just feel more connected to the music and singing it. And like Kiana said, like I feel like there's so much more that we have to tell through our music, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. That's why I'm grateful we also write for like others. We had a
Yeah.
song in a movie recently that we wrote on. So I think for us it's like really nice that we get to just do so many different avenues within music because it kind of helps re-inspire us different ways.
Definitely.
That's amazing. That's really amazing to hear that. I want to ask you folks, like, what advice you would give to first, like, young artists who are trying to break into the industry.
I think
Develop. Take your
yeah,
time to develop. Like I
but like
think
don't be afraid to fail. Like meaning like I think that if I were to just the first music I put out and like the route I was going is like really not authentic to me. And if I was so worried about failure, I probably would have just beaten a dead horse and kept going because I didn't want to, what I'm saying, turn away from that and admit to maybe that not being my path. I feel like try a ton of different things, get creatively inspired, and also collaborate. I think for Kiana and I, we co-produce all of our stuff. So although we write and sing on everything ourselves, we don't produce any of our own. And we're very vocal about that because we want to see the people who help us bring these records to life receive their flowers. So we co-produce all of our records, and I think collaboration is the reason I moved to LA. And I think that that has been the biggest blessing in getting to work with other creatives that inspire me. And I hope I continue to inspire them in some way too.
I definitely think that, and I think like um put yourself out there, take risks, take your chances, because for me and Juj, like me and Juj never played it safe. There's
Yeah.
not one day in our life we've ever played it safe. And I think that me and Juj like finding the confidence to insert ourselves in situations where there are people who are tenfold more successful than us, but we were like, we want to be here, what can we do? Like we always wanted to prove ourselves because we knew deep down that we were worth
Yeah.
that. So I think like taking risks and being comfortable putting yourself out there, meeting people, supporting each other, and wanting to see not only yourself grow, but your friends grow. I think that people who don't actually support people and are just kind of like, they feel that I've met so many people who feel self-conscious about other people growing around them and them not following the same path just yet. I think that's a disservice because I think
Yeah.
me and Juge supported our close friends, watched them do really well, and we like supported them along the way. And then when we started our project, they started to support us, which was really, really awesome. And it was just it was a natural climb. So I think that the biggest things, like she said, are take your time, understand yourself, like try a bunch of different things before, fully committing to something, and then just putting yourself out there, taking risks, releasing music for better or for worse. I can't even listen to some of the first songs I ever made. It makes me go like, oh, I die laughing. But like we will listen back to our old demos when we were younger. Like it's all a part of the plan. You have to fail 1,000 times to win eventually.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think as females too, like you said, even more so. And like I don't want to say that because Kiana and I had a call with an A&R and a label recently, and Kiana asked the question, like, as females, how do you? And I forget how she worded it, and the lady was just like, she's Italian, she's from New York, and she just was like, I don't see any difference, so I don't think there should be any different path for you than a man. Like, and I feel the same way too. I feel like I grew up like just super inspired, not feeling like I couldn't do anything that a man couldn't do. So I don't think I should alter my journey to success any differently than he should just because I'm a woman. So although maybe it's harder for us to break the doors down in these like male dominated industries, like we're just going to continue to do so in our way and be unapologetic about it and obviously always respectful of other people, but just continue to do it in what feels most authentic to us, not in a certain way because we're a woman. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really beautifully put, and I'm sure a lot of our audience who are in the industry or hoping to come in the industry would appreciate it. I already have a couple of folks who I know are gonna love to hear that.
Oh,
No, that's awesome.
Yeah,
yeah.
and I want to ask you before we wrap up, like a lot of times, like something that is coming up for young people, I would say even like younger people right now who are teenagers, maybe
Mhm,
like young children,
mhm,
something that's coming up is like resilience and like giving up a little too fast or,
mhm,
feeling really discouraged. And, your lives are a testament to what hard work can do for you and what
mhm.
resilience can do for you. So why don't you folks touch a little bit on that?
I find that so interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe like, I mean, this is like, I don't have any statistics on this, but like, I guess my guess would be being, I don't know if they're comfortable also because of the like the fast gratification of things like social media and expecting things to happen
Exactly.
overnight. I don't know if that's what, yeah, maybe that's what it is because they compare themselves to a lot of people like these influencers who have this fast success overnight. And growing up, like obviously Kiana and I had the internet and things like that, but we didn't have the careers that social media now can provide. And I think people are just like a little too, they feel like they're expected something or like they are owed
I
something,
agree.
where I personally didn't feel like that. I honestly had, both of us had a lot of privilege and support in our life. Like my mom's a huge support system to me, but like she never made it in any way that made me feel like I didn't have to work as hard. And I feel like maybe you're mentioning that this generation feels like they're owed or expected something, and I feel like that's a disservice to them, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to work as hard if that's what you're saying.
I think that that definitely like it's tough love, but I think it's the truth when it comes to something like this, I always say you have to be a little bit obsessed with it. Like you can't just love it. You have to be a little bit obsessed with it, like in a little bit of an unhealthy way, because
Unhealthy, yeah.
you have to. Like you kind of just have to
It's kind
because
of toxic, but like,
it's toxic, but you have because that obsession is what's going to carry you through the moments where you have to be okay with being shut down. You have to be okay with being vulnerable and creating something in a very vulnerable way and being told that that's not good enough by somebody who you respect. Like that will happen all the time. You have to be okay with those things because it's those things that aren't going to really necessarily change your career, but it's just going to be those stepping stones along the way to then you where you are now and where you're going to be in 5 to 10 years.
maybe
So I
also too,
think,
they're worried about how they're going to be perceived, like with what Kiana's saying. Like
yeah,
I moved out to LA when I was 17. Like there was no guarantee it was gonna work, but like I didn't even think really twice about it. I just like was gonna do what it took. And like if let's say it didn't work, it just like wasn't really a thought in my mind. Maybe they're afraid to take risks because they're worried that like I don't know, I think people are thinking about them all the time, which me and Kiana talk about. They're not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like when I get anxious, how's this person perceive me? Like they don't care. They're living their own life. They're not thinking about me. So I think people are worried about numbers. How does this look on social media? Like nobody cares. Everybody's just worried about their own life and their own well-being.
literally. And if they're that worried about you, they should be more worried about themselves at that point. Like respectfully, that's what I'm saying. Like I was raised in a way of like in a Persian family. Everyone's doctors here. I'm the only one doing music. Makes no sense to any of them. But like that was my calling. That was, you know what I mean? Like if I cared what they thought, I obviously love my family and care what they think and they support me, but they didn't understand growing. They didn't understand what I was doing or why I was doing it. I didn't even understand it. I just knew I had to, and I was obsessed with it, and I loved it. And Juge, with her work ethic, inspired me, and I knew it was gonna happen. I knew it was gonna work. It was gonna take time and
Yeah.
patience.
It still is going to take time. Kiana and I are nowhere, and that's just like, I mean, we're a certain type of people, but like, it's even nice, like, with you saying these things, like, there's perspective on everything. Like, we really appreciate, like, even like you, like, giving us our flowers and like expressing some of our wins because we're really hard on ourselves where we feel so far away from all of these things we want to achieve and these goals some days. And I think Kiana gets told all the time, we went to psychic and everything, like, we don't celebrate the little wins, and that's something we're trying to get better at because there are so many good things happening around us and we're just like focused on the next and we don't feel even close to what we set ourselves out for. But we have to remember like we've made so much progress and we've got to accomplish so many things that we hadn't before doing this. So I think that's
Yeah.
important.
I also think that we support each other. We knew that we had other sources of income that we created, so we wouldn't rely solely on music, because it would then, strip away from the love for it. I also think that at the end of the day, every job, in my personal opinion, most jobs out there are going to be hard. They're going to be difficult, regardless of whatever you do. It's not going to be just straight flying through it. Like it's always going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
So might as well just do something you love. At the
Hmm.
end, might as well do something you love. And if you need to do a little something extra, do a little something extra to make sure you can still do what you love. But I think that it's like we have a lot more power as people than we understand. We have a lot more power
Yeah.
than individually than we really realize. So I think that just people need to tap into their untapped power and just they need to go out there, grind, hustle, and work hard, and just really make them try to
Yeah.
focus on making themselves happy, not doing what
And give
everyone
up
wants.
control. I feel like specifically, I mean, I've not learned to do that at all in my own personal life. That's probably where my anxiety roots from. But specifically within work, that's something that has just been thrown in our face. Like we've tried to like maneuver and control like things going wrong, things going right. And literally like our first week of touring, we literally had this like whole instance our show was canceled because of the snow. We get on all these different flights and like it just didn't work out us getting there. And Kiana and I did not. And then literally our manager was like, "Welcome to the rest of your life." Word for word, that is what he said. And Kiana and I think, are just used to like trying to not control the situations, but like just make sure everything goes
We don't
right.
give up. Yeah, we don't give up. We always try to find a solution, but sometimes
Yeah.
life is life.
With work specifically, we're just surrendering because, like I said, the thing that she was anxious about yesterday, I just was like, I totally get it because I was anxious about it, but there's always going to be something else, and maybe it wasn't meant for us for a reason.
Yeah.
Trying to learn that.
Definitely, definitely. I really loved like those points that you made because especially like life is lifing. Life is not a constant. It is a roller coaster, and it takes growing up to like really understand that. I remember when I was young, I was like, you know what am I even going to learn in the next like 10 years? I feel like I already know everything. Little did I
Oh
know,
my God.
I got proved so wrong.
Yeah.
And you know, it took like growing up to realize like life is just it's so dramatic, and it's gonna throw so many things your way. So I really love that you bring that up, and also like our power as individuals. Can I think you
Hmm.
mentioned that every single person brings something different to the table, and that's what makes humans like very special, and like each person, each individual is really unique. So I'm really glad that you highlighted that. and
Yeah.
i I think people will resonate with it or like listen to it a little better, you know, coming from you as a role model in the community. So I really appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
My pleasure. No, I'm so happy to be talking about these things.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll start to wrap us up slowly here, but before we do, like, just want you folks to kind of mention a few things that you are doing currently to like keep empowering your mental wellness, and some goals that you have for yourself to be able to do that even more.
I'm just smiling because this is like a very timely question because I honestly, I
Can I
hate,
say the one thing that we both love that it's just kind of silly, but we both love it?
yeah. What?
We're obsessed with our Nintendo Switch.
Okay,
I know.
yeah, I don't think
No, no,
that's
no.
like the
It's
healthy
but
thing.
it's funny, but it's funny. It's a
That's
great
wrong.
example. No, it's a great example. I'm getting somewhere with this.
Okay.
So like me and Juge, like when we tour and stuff on the plane and stuff, we bring our Nintendo Switch and like we play it like sometimes before bed or something. Like it's funny. I know it's funny, but the thing is, it's like I think it's we tapped into our childlike selves. Like I
Yeah.
think being adults and having a lot of responsibilities. It's a
Yeah.
metaphor in my head basically
No,
of
I
being
love
like
it. Go ahead.
be open to doing things that feel comfortable, not doing things that you think you have to all the time. For me, it's like I love tapping into like my like artistic self, but my childlike self. I love
Hmm.
checking in with my younger self because that's still there. Making sure that I've healed from what I've had to heal from, and that I have the knowledge to move forward with whatever I've dealt with. So I think like practices that I'm doing, like and she's doing is like doing things that just make us happy. Like
Yeah.
plainly just make us happy, bring us joy for whatever reason, whether it's good or bad. Meaning like whether it's like kind of like a Nintendo or something stupid, like we just
Yeah.
do things to make us happy.
I'm trying to
Um,
find more balance, I think. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to say I've conquered the idea. Like I'm actually like I feel like it's an interesting time for you guys to have us on this podcast because I feel like I'm definitely not I haven't figured it out yet. And this is like I said, our first time touring, and I think it's made me have to figure out different balance. I love to work, like that is my favorite thing, but I'm trying to find honestly, I thrive off of structure. Like even when we worked a marketing job, it was easy working for someone else in the sense it wasn't as gratifying, but it was easy working like six. It was on East Coast hours, so whether it was like 6:37, then ending at like 4 or whatever it was. Like I thrive off of schedule and structure, and we work for ourselves, and our business doesn't have that. So trying to figure out ways to provide that for myself. I think what's been hard for me is like traveling a ton on the weekends. I'm exhausted when we come back, and I know how important exercise and those things are. And I'm just trying to find ways to realistically balance that and bring that, incorporate that as a consistent thing in my life. Because when we come back, our work, when we come back every weekend from touring, it's not over. We have to do our sessions. We have all, even though we have managers and we have a team, like all of the business, like there's so much that people don't understand goes inside music. And also we have to fully function and have our monthly payments and figure out ways to pay our rent. And obviously, like we're lucky enough that working for ourselves has been able to provide that for the past year and a half, 2 years, whatever that is. But there's so much work that gets done in the week that I just want to make sure I find better ways to take care of myself. I'm very ADHD, so one way that presents, Kiana knows it does not present in my work. Like I have never missed a meeting. I'm very quite the opposite. I'm very type A. I don't like to be late, all of those things, but I'm very like disorganized when it comes to whether it's like my room, and I think that affects my mental when I'm gone every single weekend. Sometimes I I just want to lay down where I don't unpack the suitcase. So I'm trying to find different thought processes and ways to motivate myself. And that's just a personal thing that my mom even like is helping me with right now, which is really sweet because I'm 25. But I've just been trying to figure, I think with like work, I've never had a problem with that. But personal, whether it's like my car getting messier, my house, or finding ways to incorporate the balance between work and personal. Even if I love to read a book. And Keon says that's what goes with a Nintendo. I love to read. I like to play the Nintendo. I need to find more outside time to connect with outdoors. I have had a hard time, I think, finding time for friends because I also, like I said, need to make time for myself. And when we're not touring, even Keanu and I, when we're on the road, we love sharing a room and stuff, but sometimes like it is nice for us to have our own rooms because like I need time to decompress. And that's not, she doesn't take it personally and vice versa.
No.
So I think we're just like trying to find balance because this is a new phase. I've never traveled this much. I've never had to like find time for myself because usually that would just be incorporated into a weekly schedule because I worked on structure. So I'm just like learning to find balance.
I the same, and essentially, like at the end of the day, it's the same with me. I think that
Yeah.
point blank, like I want to spend more time with my family right now whenever I can. I want to see
Mhm.
my friends. I miss a lot of my friends because we're doing a lot. So I think I'm just trying to learn how to basically schedule out my life and
Yeah.
balance everything. I think it's just
You need
it's
to
a
be okay
process.
with it though. Yeah, because like
Yeah.
sometimes like I'm just like, oh, why couldn't I have worked out today? I'm like, okay, I allowed myself to sleep until like 9, 10, whatever it is, because we didn't have a call till 10:30. And I'm like, I can't be mad at myself. We just played two back-to-back shows in two different cities this weekend. It's a Monday. Like I just feel like Kiana, sometimes like you need to be kind to yourself because I just like
Yeah.
I'm in a way I get really just angry at myself for not being able to do it all. But you can't, and like everyone goes through different phases of life and also be present. Like sometimes I live with my boyfriend, so sometimes I want to make sure we're not just like in passing. I want to schedule like a time for us like once a week to have dinner. Like we both have our independent lives and that's really great because we aren't like necessarily at all codependent on each other, but I just want to make sure we have time that we're presently together, not just in passing or going to sleep. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to be better at that. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
so many good points in there. And you just like on your last point when you said like consciously making time for each other, like that's something that's really significant, and I feel like it's people are learning more and more about it now, but might not have been too familiar. So like for your friendships, relationships, everything, like you need to consciously make time for it. And I just think that's like such a huge takeaway.
I think it's
But
better
as
for scheduling too, because everyone's work schedule's crazy. Anyone at this age who works a normal job, and like our job's normal too, because it's a full-time job. Like you have to, for me, I have to schedule it out, or it's going to be like a manic last minute thing that I'm not present because I like didn't get this done. Like I have to
yeah,
schedule my time out. Yeah.
yeah. Like this past year, I've just been like using my calendar a lot. Yeah, very adult of me, and that's just been like such a theme in my life. But it has helped. Oh, there we go. Oh my
Well,
god,
this is my
yes.
ADHD. I should not have it written down. We have obviously a Google Calendar with our team and stuff, and they get so mad at me, but I'm the one that schedules all of me and Kiana's stuff. And
Yes.
since I was younger, I have to write stuff down. I don't.
Yes, I resonate with that a lot. I keep an online calendar, but I also have like it's somewhere over there. It's like
I
a
have
big
to.
FedEx calendar, and I have to do it. Like it's I just have to double write it down, but that's
Same.
fine because writing it down makes it like much better at like tangible and
Yeah.
actually like an action item.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
really helped, and I resonated with like how you mentioned how although like ADHD doesn't necessarily affect your work, like whenever you get home you just want to relax or like maybe not unpack your suitcase.
Yeah.
I definitely resonate with that quite a lot, and as I'm becoming an adult, it's just something that I've been trying to work on and like deal with
Mm,
step by step. Like I'll be like, all right, like every day we have to make the bed, and that's not negotiable. So like
yeah.
starting small and like taking it from there. But it just feels very
Yeah.
comforting to know that I'm not alone with this.
No.
I'm
No.
sure. Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. Me and Kiana are type A and type B in different ways. Like that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like if someone looked at somehow like how I can be disorganized, they would think I'm type B, but I'm so type A. Like I cannot be late. Like when it comes to work, I am so type A. But like we have, it's funny. Like I wouldn't say either of us. We're literally like yin and yang, and that's why I
Yeah.
think it works
I'm the
well.
opposite.
Yeah.
I have really bad time management, but I'm extremely organized.
Same.
Yeah, so mine's the
Like her
opposite.
house, like that's what I'm saying. She puts things in specific places where I like am more schedule oriented. That's why I do our schedule. So it's funny because it literally is like you would think it would be the same part of the brain that does that, but for us,
Yeah,
it's
really.
It's
not.
very completely opposite.
Yeah, yeah. And that's also a beautiful message, and like letting people understand that like you're gonna have your strong points that are actually gonna like make your community better for it if you decide to share them with them, and then there's gonna be stuff from your community that you're not gonna be the best at, but you're gonna be able to implement because you have this
Yeah.
support system around you.
Yeah. Zella wouldn't be Zella if it was like two Jujas or two Kianas. So like,
Absolutely not.
Wow, incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for
Thank
Yeah,
you
sharing
so
time with me
much. Of
thank you
today.
for
course.
having
Thank
us.
you for having
Of
us. Let
course.
Kat know we appreciate her setting this up too. Next time we have another show in Colorado, hopefully Red Rocks.
Yeah,
We'll have you guys out. Let us
Ah!
know. Yeah.
I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna be like there.
No, we'll
that'd be
get you
so
guys
exciting.
tickets. Yeah, hopefully
Would
we don't have a
love that.
Colorado date booked now, but I'm hoping like fall or next winter.
Yeah, we're gonna manifest it. It's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
Yay.
And before we close up, I want you folks to like choose a song for our audience. Like, there's this thing in our culture where it's called like um, I don't know, but you like choose a song for like for someone. Like it's like a thing.
But what does
And
the song have to represent?
nothing. It's just your choice for our audience tonight.
Okay, choosing a
Okay.
From
song.
your own music.
Can
Oh, from
I?
our own music that we write?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh, from our stuff, so not from a song, random song.
Yeah,
no.
from
Okay.
your
Well, I
song.
wish it could be the
Oh,
unreleased stuff.
I
When is
wish
this
it could be the
podcast?
unreleased. Can we say in
Well, when is
about
this
like?
podcast coming out?
I
I'm
don't
trying to
know.
think because well,
Well,
like,
when is the
you have,
podcast gonna come out? Because
that's
I
what I
don't know
just
if we can say
asked.
it.
Like,
I
what
don't
is like
know
a
either.
rough timeline? Like,
Not for another 4 weeks.
Oh,
oh,
then yeah, we have the perfect song to recommend.
wait,
Or
no, no, but I don't want to. But like, Kiana, the other one might be out after that. We like the other one better.
no, it's not gonna be out after that. Not
If
not
it
in
comes
four
out in five
weeks.
weeks, yeah, 4 weeks, it'll be past our June Galantis show.
Well, I'm just gonna say this.
Okay.
Check out Origami by Zella, and if we have another song out by then, check out our Spotify or
Yeah.
links to see what came out. I'll just like
Mine's gonna be if it's out and if it's not out, then just wait for it to be out and just like I guess stalk on social media. Mine's gonna be drama or pick up the tempo or supernova. So pick one of those and hopefully one of them is out
you
by
did
then.
not just tease our next three releases.
It's just the names.
Yes, thank you guys for sharing that with us.
Yeah, no problem.
That's
That might have to be
absolutely
edited. Sorry.
incredible.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
No, I'm saying sorry, my
incredible.
ADHD. That wasn't the best well said, but at least this isn't live. So thank you.
No,
Woo!
no. I'm so glad that you guys were here. Thank you for joining me today, and thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing your time and your
Aw,
expertise, your life experiences, your journey with like myself and our audience here today.
thank you.
And yeah, just thank you for being so down
Thank
to earth
you.
and down for this conversation as well.
You as well. This
Pleasure.
was
Thank you so much for having
such a
us.
privilege. Thank you. And then also send our love to Kat.
Thank
Thank her
you.
for setting this up. I'm going to let her know, but thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Of course.